Good day. We've got CEO Hector Bremner of Avricore Health joining us today. Through its digital HealthTab platform, Avricore is enabling primary care services to pharmacies, streamlining the healthcare system and generating new revenue sources for the pharmacy industry. 2023 has been a year of substantial growth for the company, and Hector is here to review the highlights of last year and give us some perspectives on what to expect in 2024. I'm Martin Gagel with Market Radius Research. It's Tuesday, January the 9th. Please remember, this is neither recommendation or investment advice. We're here to learn about that company. Hector, thank you very much for joining us. Happy New Year. I hope you had a good break. And
yes.
How are things going?
Well, Happy New Year to you as well. It's hard to believe that here we are in 2024. It's the future, you know?
Yeah.
It's pretty
Feels
wild.
very science fiction.
But it is very science fiction, you know? It's like, I feel like 1994 was like yesterday, so like what happened? But anyways, you know, it's been great. The holidays were great. We got a chance to relax and restore after a busy year, and we're really excited for this year. Lots to do, lots of hard work ahead of us.
I believe you have a presentation you're going to walk us through, give us some highlights and perspectives, and then we can dig down to some of those details.
It's great to update everyone. I know people are keen to see and hear about what we've been doing. Those that follow us know that we're like ducks on a pond where you know, it's very calm on the surface, but there's always a flurry of activity going on. And you know, we like to announce things, of course, but you know, it takes time when you're doing innovation, doing things for the first time, especially with partners with the size and breadth of what we work with. It takes a little bit of time to get these things done, but we're very proud of what we've accomplished over the last couple of years, and we are on a multi-year growth plan. Obviously, we believe that HealthTab has global applications. HealthTab has expanded significantly in Canada since we begun scaling in the back half of 2022. We accomplished a lot in 2023, and we really are now expecting to see the more intensivity compounding on itself in 24 and beyond. So really excited about it, and we're really grateful to all of our partners and supporters out there who've been behind us throughout this. And you know, it's been obviously a challenging time for the markets, and especially in the innovation space, but really proud of what we've been able to accomplish. And we know that this year we think that we'll be seeing a lot more recognition for what we're doing. So perspective on the what and why we're doing Avricore Health, as you know, its primary offering in the marketplace is something called HealthTab. HealthTab is a platform for point of care testing. It's focused predominantly on chronic disease, but also infectious disease. And you know, while there's lots of companies focusing on the weird and wonderful and things like that to drill down on, the reality is that chronic disease is the largest driver of bad healthcare outcomes and costs. And one of the big things that is particularly shocking, and this number is growing all the time, is that not only do we have an aging population in most of nations across the world, a really large percentage of that population, and in Canada's case, over 27% of them, have either prediabetes or diabetes. This gateway disease is deeply problematic. It's leading to more acute care beds being filled up, emergency rooms being spilled over, because the reality is, you know, when COVID hit, the ugly truth was it's not just the infection that's making people sick, it's their underlying health that was being tipped over here. And so we've got to address this issue if we want to get better healthcare outcomes for people. And in countries like Canada, and for those that know me, know that I have a background in government and politics, people like us who really want to see the public healthcare system be there for future generations know that we've got to invest in preventative care. And so a lot was accomplished in 2023 in Canada and in other nations in this regard. Specifically, a very significant new funding package for provinces by the federal government, negotiated in these very unique carve-out agreements. So the dollars were committed for this year and beyond for the next 10 years, billions in new healthcare funding. And so that's going to start being deployed in 2024. Something also really exciting, particularly for the pharmacy sector, is that many provinces, particularly the key ones, the big ones like Ontario and the Maritimes, British Columbia, Alberta, they have all been expanding the scope of practice of pharmacists to drill down on this number here that we see on our screen, where we have nearly 30% of people over 65 living with diabetes. We've got to drill down on this. And so we're very excited for the year ahead as these kind of dollars come into play. But just again, a primer for those that maybe are new to our story. Avricore Health is a company dedicated to deploying healthcare technologies in the pharmacy. And we do that primarily with HealthTab, which is a wholly owned subsidiary, and a technology that was developed here in Vancouver by Roger Seckham, who continues to lead the team today. And we have now been able to bring HealthTab to more pharmacies, bring point of care testing that's connected over the cloud in real time across more than 700 locations today, and growing all the time. And we're going to be growing substantially in this year. And we're basically coast to coast in Canada now. Is any province that allows it, we're in it. And we are really the first to be able to create a network not only of this size, but this type. And we're very, very proud of that. And thanks to our partners at Abbott, Shoppers Drug Mart, and now Rexall, who've been able to make this possible. So we're leading the way. It's very important to understand that what we're doing is not commodified in any way. It is not an established thing. This is something that's very new in the pharmacy sector, as they transition from simply being the dispensers of medicine and some limited medical advice to now being full-blown walk-in clinics. So now in many provinces, particularly in Ontario and Alberta, but we expected to see it in British Columbia. Quebec is probably going to make an announcement soon. And we're seeing now where a pharmacy walk-in clinic can now pick up a lot of the slack for those that don't have a family doctor, or those physicians that are overwhelmed with trying to deal with the more serious and chronic and acute issues, whereas the pharmacist is being given the scope now to deal more with the management of those in-between moments, or maybe something like a psoriasis or a sprained ankle. The pharmacist is able to deal with this now. And so a lot of construction and floor plan changes are happening. Entirely new teams are being trained. An entirely new service and business offering is being dropped into the nearly $50 billion business, which is pharmacy in Canada. And so this is a very exciting time, and many other countries like Britain, which we will talk about, are doing the same thing. So as the key message from 2023 is what the one thing that we learned, and big takeaway is that the airplane is being built as it's taking off. So we have had to be flexible and had to be quick on our feet, as the industry has too. Is you're constantly iterating and learning more about how patients react to it, how teams are able to deploy new services and new programs, and we are grateful to say that we succeeded throughout these challenges. And it's getting firmer all the time as policy changes, funding changes, and strategic approach changes have come into play over the last year or so. But it's starting to bake in and be a little bit clearer. So some of the accomplishments in 2023 was strong and stable growth, record revenues, record growth, and we controlled the controllables. So we significantly grew the network of systems, and as I mentioned before, we're basically coast to coast in Canada. We're in every Shoppers Drug Mart in Alberta. We're growing in just about every province. The provinces and the prairies are starting to open up now, and there's some pilots going on there. Ontario has been a big success for us, and there's been some really great advancement and discussions with Quebec, and of course we're in the East Coast, and so. Beyond the sheer volume of number of locations, we are ahead of schedule in our own sort of plans to. We've been deploying the Afinion 2, a device from Abbott, which is predominantly focused on chronic disease. It's a blood test. It takes a finger stick blood test, and we run 2 tests in locations on it. One looking at diabetes, one looking at cardiovascular disease. But we are now deploying hundreds of the ID Now virus-focused molecular test device. This one uses a swab, and that is giving a confirmed result for virus in stores, predominantly focused on strep. For those following the news, strep infections are up significantly, and is becoming more and more of a challenge. And so we are ahead of our thinking in terms of how many locations would have 2 machines at a particular location. And why this matters is that throughout most of the year, a pharmacy will be able to focus on chronic disease, but there isn't a pattern within the pharmacy business where the late fall and winter is really dominated by flu. And so the pharmacy traditionally is focusing a lot on doing flu shots and just dealing with infectious disease work. And that's something that hit really hard in late 2022, early 2023. There was something called the triple-demic, where you had a high confluence of intense flu, COVID variants, and RSV. And RSV is something that typically known to impact children, but it is also, seniors have a high susceptibility to it. And so this really crushed the healthcare system. If you go back and look at the top stories at the time, hospitals were overflowing, emergency rooms were basically breaking, entire healthcare systems were on the verge of collapse, and pharmacy was impacted by that in a big way. So by having the ability to test for virus and offer confirmed tests in a point of care setting in a real time way is a really powerful offering for the pharmacy. And we're proud to offer that thanks to the ID Now from Abbott. And so we're deploying that and have deployed quite a few this year. We will be deploying a lot more this year. And we're very keen on seeing how that smooths out our overall revenue flow, because again, you'll have this period where they're just focused chronic disease work just due to capacity tends to slow down during that period. But we're going to see this other season where the infectious disease and the ID Now is more heavily used. So we think that's good for us and overall revenues. Building off that, we secured a feasibility study, which is no small feat. It's not easy to be able to do business with NHS trusts in the UK, but we're very proud that we've partnered with the BARTS, which is Greater London, and Heart UK on a really important feasibility study that's building off of a very successful publicly funded program where they've been tested nearly 2 million people in 6,000 pharmacies across Britain using blood pressure only. Blood pressure obviously is a very good indicator, but what we're doing is now these individuals that are being identified with hypertension or high blood pressure and are so-called ambulatory will be then invited in, retested, and being drilled down using HealthTab, and now coaching and properly getting a patient on track with medication, lifestyle changes, and collaboration with the physician to make sure that their cardiovascular disease is properly managed. So we're very excited about their enthusiasm for this and what we expect to see happen. Britain has been funding in a very large way these types of programs. They've committed almost, in 2023, they committed the better part of £700 million towards more services in pharmacy. So we see the public healthcare system, the NHS in Britain, being very progressive in this regard and using pharmacy for more primary care and chronic disease management. And we see great growth potential in that country. And we were able to get our first step into that door. We also secured an objective, which was to have not complete reliance, of course, on our primary customer, the largest pharmacy service company in Canada by a long shot is Shoppers Drug Mart and Loblaw, and we're very proud to have them as a customer. And as a business, you obviously want some diversity, and you hope that your technology is more broadly adopted. And so we were very proud that we were adopted by Rexall, which is Canada's second largest corporate pharmacy chain. And we're very excited by their enthusiasm and their focus. They're leaning in very heavily on the pharmacy walk-in clinic, and we were proud to be invited out to Edmonton in the fall to be there with the team as we launched the first walk-in clinic with HealthTab there. And so we see a lot of exciting growth potential with Rexall in the year ahead, but we're very proud and very grateful to their team and for their enthusiasm this year. And something also key and interesting in 2023 was an agreement with Essentia to connect the Contour Next Gen glucose meter, which is the global leader in terms of sales and usage of glucose meters. This is to be the first time that HealthTab is getting near to patient data, which is to say, not data collected within the pharmacy with the pharmacist, but this is data that the patient is generating on a day-to-day basis. And so this information will be fed into HealthTab, and this will allow pharmacists to consolidate information and be able to work with patients, understanding how their health is doing in those in-between moments, obviously do a deeper dive with them with HealthTab during that consultation. But we see very exciting possibilities and doors that are being opened to other collaborations, not just with glucose meters, but how HealthTab is going to be the conduit for generating data in the exciting new environment that is healthcare services within community pharmacy. So very, very exciting. This is a major breakthrough in terms of what's happening in health data from a practical application point of view. And we're very excited to see where this goes in 2024 with additional partnerships. And so another big milestone for us to conclude for 2023 was we grew very aggressively. We invested heavily in growth, and as a fast-growing company, achieving net profitability is unheard of. But we definitely achieved operational profitability, and that is something we're immensely proud of. That with the fact that our model works so well that we were able to self-fund, grow rapidly, and still achieve operational profitability. And so that's a very exciting result for us throughout the year. And we think that we're really walking into the year ahead with a lot of seeds planted for success. So there is no roadmap when you're first down the road, and so that's one of the bigger, things that we face as a business. We're true innovation, and we're really trailblazing what we're doing, but we're doing it extremely well and in a very prudent fashion. So we're really, really excited that how fast we've been able to grow. Obviously, we are ambitious. We would like to be doing a bit more in terms of revenues, and we would like to be able to grow always faster. There's no doubt. But I will say that we have learned very repeatedly since my involvement with this business that patience truly is a virtue, and we are getting there. And when we look back, we've traveled a lot of road, and we're in really good shape. So we learned a lot from this year. The triple-demic definitely caused us to be taken off track in the early part of the year. We had to retrain a lot of the stores. The pharmacies themselves had to recover from the fact that they were severely impacted by labor shortages in the early part of the year. And this continues to be an industry-wide problem. It's something that we have to contend with, and we feel that we're helping them solve. But regardless, that in 2023, these labor shortages were becoming more and more pronounced as there's fatigue in the healthcare system, and it's definitely spilling over into pharmacy. But we also are working with our pharmacy partners all the time to understand how they are able to absorb and successfully launch programs. They obviously are very committed to this. They continue to invest heavily into expansion and growth, and so they see this as a big part of their future. And so we, have that optimism in front of us. But we are obviously working with them all the time to streamline processes, make it easier to adopt, and we all learn together. So, but that's going extremely well, and our partners have been all really fantastic. So we also we're learning that a lot of the first stage agreements on the funding and policy changes happened in 2023. We're still waiting, and the sector as a whole is still waiting to see how that rubber will hit the road. It's likely to be hitting in 2024 in some way or another. But we're also seeing more industry support for the programs like HealthTab is offering, as they see a value in patient acquisition through testing and program adoption. So we're very we learned a lot about those conversations, and we learned a lot about where partners are at play. We built a lot of really great relationships, and put a great foundation on us under us for the go forward. And so we are continuing to grow substantially. We were able to manage, control the controllables, and manage things in such a way that we were able to be flexible, and we didn't put ourselves in any position other than success. And so while things are delayed, we do think that growth is what we did learn in 2023 is that the growth is perhaps delayed, but it's coming. And we can see that very closely with some things that we were testing out this year in collaboration with our partners. And we know what works. We know what's going to grow testing volumes on the go forward, and we're working to deploy that now. And so the network has expanded significantly. It's a great place to start from, and we think that we're heading into 24 with a lot of momentum. And so we're just getting started. We've been scaling significantly since late 22. That was maturing throughout 23 with a lot of external factors that kind of buffeted you around a little bit. But again, as I said already, we managed that really well. We were flexible, and we were head down and got through the year on a great basis of success. And so major priorities for the year ahead, of course, is growing test volumes, which testing volumes is the leading impact on our revenues, as we are able to generate revenue off the consumables. So we, again, to 23, we had more machines out, we generated a lot more revenue. The testing frequency and volume and program optimization is being worked on by the clients, which at the end of the day is their prerogative, and we work with them and collaborate with them. But we're seeing a lot of focus and commitment on their side, and so we're very excited to see how that plays out.
Hector,
we obviously want to expand. Yes, sir.
On the grow test volumes at the network, once you get the systems installed and HealthTab connected, is there anything you can do to sort of help drive the testing volumes, or it's really in your partners' hands and how many resources as an advertising personnel and so forth they allocate to it?
Yeah, we've tested it a lot. I mean, HealthTab is 10 years of refinement and iteration, and a lot of really bright thinking. And advertising, even to my mind, was someone who was in communications and marketing, and has a real belief in getting your message out. What I can tell you in 2023 is some ideas were piloted and tried. There's only so much I can kind of get into it, but there's one thing only that significantly impacts test volumes, and that is that, and it gets into little deep in the weeds as to pharmacies, the pharmacy business and how it's operated. But there is, as I said, the airplane's being built as it's taken off, so they're transitioning from being measured from a business point of view in a way that they've become accustomed to over the last several decades. And so they're transitioning now to looking at metrics in a different way, to allocating labor in a different way, capital resources, a whole bunch of different things. And what all this means is that when the pharmacy team is essentially freed up to do this type of work and is taken, it is not as prioritized on simply dispensing pills, testing volumes dramatically increase. It helps even more when there's some funding, direct billing that they're able to do for the testing. There are private players, and obviously the expectation is, and the significant lobbying work, I guess, for lack of a better word, by the pharmacy sector is to get more of the type of public healthcare funding that healthcare as usual would get for testing, right? So pharmacy has been largely cut out of that, or traditionally not doing any of that work. So those programs look like have been and are being negotiated. So we, as from our side, we optimize the system. We make it very easy for it to be plug and play and for them to start doing it. And HealthTab makes them money right away. It makes them money right away by increasing the amount of billable medication reviews they can do. They obviously generate a lot of new chronic disease medication prescribers. They are also able to introduce other products and services to the patient via HealthTab because they are now engaging in a meaningful conversation with that patient and they're using data to drive the healthcare outcome of that patient. So all of these factors are being built into their business plans, and we're seeing good adoption of that. And our coaching and advisement and flexibility on our side has been making it easier to adopt it. But there is something that is a challenge, is that this is a very large and established industry, right? And they are transitioning from a business that they were really quite accustomed to doing for the last several decades, and they're making a big change. This is significant. They're going all in on this. It's not a question of if they're getting involved in services, but they were just recently given the scope of practice. The funding deals for them haven't been entirely baked in yet, and those have been being negotiated. And the expectation is in 2024 that we'll start to see some of the first iterations of that and generations of that. One of the key determinants of that has been a large public pilot that was being done in the Maritimes. It was called the PANS pilot. That pilot wrapped in December of that just passed here. So we're just, several weeks from them just wrapping that pilot up. That pilot was, by all accounts, a runaway success. It demonstrated very clearly that patients responded well to it, that patients enjoyed being able to get the services from there, and that there were good outcomes from it. But the official paper, the official results of that is still yet to come out. When that comes out, that's expected to be a key determinant in the decision-making of health ministers and health ministries across the country as to what funding levels and what they will be funding and in what way they will be funding it. But while all of this is still a bit up in the air, it is something I think of a high value speculation to look at, is that it's going to be a massive impact on the business of pharmacy, but also companies like us who are in the business of being a service provider to them. And so we're very bullish on 2024 and the impacts of what that's going to have. And a good example of that, and I'm talking about, is expanding and securing our international market growth. If you look at the investments being made in Britain, it's going in the right direction there. So they recognize if you're going to keep people out of very expensive acute care beds, which can sometimes be hundreds of thousands of dollars a day of someone who's in really rough shape, if you want to avoid the economic drag on your GDP of having a bunch of chronically and acutely ill people, and the collateral damage of family members are dealing with, a sick loved one, and all the rest of that, the data is very clear that this is a big problem in our nations in terms of productivity. If you're going to do that, you have to invest in preventative health. You have to invest in healthcare outcomes. You can't just be about disease care. And while a lot of this was academic and theoretical before COVID, it's now created an environment where budgets are strained. It's time to get real. It's time to start to think differently. And it's time to keep people healthy and in community and get them out of our hospitals and not in our emergency rooms. So all of that has led in the right direction. It's been going in this direction over the last 18 months to 2 years, and it's going in only picking up steam. So we feel really positively about that. And so, we are also, beyond public funding, we're a part in working with our partners to advocate in the private sector as well. There is obviously a lot of desire on the pharmaceutical business side or other device manufacturer side, like glucose meters, to acquire and drive deeper relationships with patients. So we see a lot of funding that's going to drive more test volumes there. And so we're working to make that a priority. And obviously, we want to generate visibility of HealthTab success and growth. So we're going to be looking at the best ways to do that, and obviously trying to evangelize what we've been doing. We've done a little bit of that in the past, and it's been successful. But we're obviously been more focused on investing on our growth, and then finally, part of expanding and enhancing the team's capabilities is going to be critical, because we are now growing so rapidly and are taking on so much more, that we'll be growing the team. So big priorities again: more test volumes, getting there through expansion, both domestically and internationally. Additionally to public funding is more private partnerships that will be driving new revenues. And obviously we want to be able to be invested in telling our story and investing in our team and our capabilities so we can take advantage fully of that growth. And this picture, by the way, on the screen is that's it's pot of gold for us. What that is probably a 3-foot high box full of tests conducted over a few days in a single location, and it gives you an idea of what's possible. So, we are very excited about what we're seeing out there and what's indicative of the success that we can have, and we're pushing real hard to make it happen. So we're obviously always looking at where our opportunities and challenges. So growth is both an opportunity and a challenge. Pace of adoption is a challenge. We experienced that in 2023. Opportunities of new partners. Obviously, we go deepening partnerships. Decision making when you're and landing on final program iterations and launches with large organizations takes time, so we have to work through that. Change of scope has been a huge opportunity, and so this kind of comes back to pace of adoption as to what does this mean for the pharmacy sectors, less so for us, but pharmacists, how they adopt this. It's a big industry shift, and it's a tough time right now for people to make sense of it. There's a lot of shifting things out there, and I think when you look at the investment community and you look at what a lot of smart people like Martin are talking about what's going on in the markets, there's a lot that can confuse folks. And innovation stocks like ours and small cap companies like ours have been challenged to get the recognition for the work that we're doing, as investment dollars have gone into with rising interest rates for a bunch of different reasons into other investment vehicles. But we do see what we're doing is getting more attention. We think that investor sentiment is going to start to flip back, at least in 2024, and we're continuing to drive the fact that we're going to be generating significant yield in revenues with profitability over the long term. And we're not here for a quick ride. We are here to build a real business and to do something substantially important in healthcare. Because I can tell you right now that 70% of the people that we're testing are finding out about an illness that they did not know that they had. And we are driving people into significantly better healthcare outcomes. And the net of this is I was always very critical of Silicon Valley, trying to find some sort of inherent social benefit of whatever it was that they were doing. They're always really great at marketing that. HealthTab truly is that. I mean, not only are we a great business, but we are doing something critically important, and that is that we're making science more applicable, health data more actionable, and the connectivity and the partnerships and the alignments that have been long sought after but thwarted by the devils in the details. HealthTab makes it easy, and we're breaking down all kinds of walls and making things possible. And so things are moving very quickly behind the scenes, and we're going to be looking forward to telling you a lot more about it throughout this year. But I'm very excited about what we're doing, and I hope people will continue to be as excited as we are about it. And to close out, one of my heroes anyways, Charlie Munger, one of the great investors. Everybody wants to be with Charlie and Warren, and so these guys did it right. But I like his thinking. It was always, if you can help someone know something, that you've done your job as a human being. So we're really proud of that HealthTab is educating not only healthcare practitioners but policymakers, and most importantly patients about their healthcare risks and their status of their health. And we're hoping to continue to be out there saving more lives. So thanks for listening to me dump all this on you, and always happy to take your questions.
Hector. All right, thanks. I guess we'll try to focus on Canada first, and then some of the other topics here. You mentioned in the prairie provinces, and there is a question whether you expect to expand into Saskatchewan this year. I'm not aware of this, just reading off the question here, that I guess pharmacists are not allowed to do POCT or point of care testing. Is that on the, I don't know if that's a legislative agenda or more of a bureaucratic item. What does it look like for the prairie provinces?
So they're all looking at, so Alberta, one of the prairie provinces, is by far in Canada the leader in terms of thinking of practice within pharmacy. They have gone for years, even before the COVID pandemic, had been giving expanded scope of practice to the community pharmacy to be able to order tests and at the traditional labs and to do some work. But that's been refined even since COVID. Saskatchewan is running a pilot right now. We are in Shoppers is using our and deploying our technology in that, and Saskatchewan has been a little bit more conservative thus far, as well as Manitoba in terms of giving the pharmacies the scope of practice. You know, one of the bigger challenges is that, and I've worked in and around at high levels, both as a senior advisor to cabinet ministers. I've been an elected person myself. I was the vice president of a company that focused on, I was involved in public affairs and working on the industry side and on public policy matters. Within Saskatchewan and Manitoba, and to an extent Quebec, physicians and the College of Physicians have generally been very good at maintaining a status quo. So anytime there's ever any talk about change scope or, you know, healthcare innovation or anything like that, they're pretty quick to say, no, we're going to do things our way, and like this is how things are going to be, and you know, nobody should be doing anything. And in Saskatchewan, what we're hearing and seeing is it's been challenging to deal with the College of Physicians there. So, but I am confident that the pilot is going to bring that temperature down, and people are going to see that the pharmacist is complementary to the physician, and that it is not a risk, and that it is not competition to them, but it is truly complementary. Because I can tell you right now that people who are being identified with undiagnosed disease with HealthTab, a large majority of them have a family doctor. These are not individuals that are unattached to any healthcare professional. They have physician oversight, but they're still not being identified. They're still not getting that type of care. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, the healthcare systems are overloaded. Doctors are remunerated in a certain way. It's become a bit transactional. And so there's a lot of innovation that needs to happen in healthcare if we're going to get better healthcare outcomes. And these pilots are important, but British Columbia, where I am, and you are here, Martin, you and I know that British Columbia is famous for its healthcare innovation. A lot of really exciting healthcare technology, everything from the mapping of the human genome and cloning to, you know, vaccine development, and all kinds of really exciting stuff happens here in British Columbia from a healthcare science point of view, and not to mention, you know, the sort of we're the northern sort of Silicon Valley. We have a lot of really great innovation here. If you try to adopt that innovation in British Columbia, that's another story, right? So like we can develop it, but we never adopt it. And so even British Columbia has adopted an expanded scope of practice for pharmacists. They're doing more services, and it's been a runaway success. And British Columbia is expected to continue to expand and adopt that. The pharmacy walk-in clinic model in Alberta is very successful. They've been doing it in Ontario. Highly successful. Patients respond to it extremely well, and it's taking the pressure off of physicians just so they can focus on diagnosis or treatment of the bigger things, and their offices are not full of, you know, well, I've got, you know, my psoriasis is back. Well, do you need to see your physician if your psoriasis is back or eczema or something skin related? No. The pharmacist can help you with that. So we're very bullish on every province adopting an expanded scope and funding it ultimately. We know that the dollars are on the table thanks to the negotiations that happened in 2023 and that PANS pilot that I mentioned. The entire pharmacy sector and frankly, health ministers and ministries across the country are all waiting on bated breath for that to be officially published. And that will be used as the basis or the decision to expand and fund what we're doing in different provinces.
With Rexall, can you discuss, obviously it's their data, but what you're allowed to say about it, their expansion plans? And there's a specific question here. Will they be rolling it out to their pharmacist walk-in clinics, or might additional types of stores be added as well?
Both. Primarily the walk-in clinics are the first obvious ones. So those are being built, and they have a construction plan for that. But we do anticipate being in regular stores as well. HealthTab works in both settings. One of the challenges, and again, it's back to the airplane being built as it's taking off, is that physical footprint in some of the locations. Like if you don't have like a proper consultation room, then it's a bit tricky to do this well, or to operationalize it. But we're seeing a rapid adoption. Even the Shoppers Drug Mart close to me here. I live in downtown Vancouver, and there's a Shoppers just a couple of blocks from me. They did something very interesting where they built another consultation room just in some space where they typically had product. So they actually shrunk their retail product space and actually just bolted on another consultation room. So it's one of these things that, as I say, it was like when you're first down the road, you're first down the road. So a lot of this is still, all of this stuff it's exciting. It's fun. I mean, like when we look back in 5 years from now, all of this is going to be considered so like commonplace, and you're going to be like, oh yeah, I go to the pharmacy and I get a blood test and I find out my results right there as I sit there, and I have a consultation with my pharmacist and we talk about my challenges. We do a dosage adjustment, or I get a new medication because he collaborated with my family doctor and she concurred, and so all of that is going to be normal. All of that is being established live as we're talking right now. It's all happening in real time. So, we're definitely first. We're definitely the most effective way of making this possible, and we're proud of that. And so we're going to continue to take advantage of our advantage, and we expect to see Rexall be quite aggressive in going into this space. I think they view pharmacy services as a new exciting way to generate revenues and better serve patients and move into truly the 21st century of healthcare.
And as well, I guess in a competitive environment, you got to keep up with the competition. And if the big dog is offering those services, that's something we probably want to get into as well.
Absolutely.
With I thought your announcement earlier in this year with the Contour blood glucose monitoring program sounded very exciting, where you can take the data from your unit and then incorporate that with your HealthTab data. You mentioned it previously. Just a bit of an update on how that's going, and what would the business model for that look like? Who or how would you get paid on that?
Yeah, so we have been working with their team and we already have completed the API connections. So the way that it'll work is that essentially our servers talk to their servers, and that part was the easy part. Over the last several months, we've had to work with Essentia Global. Keeping in mind, it's a very large international company, one of the largest and most successful companies in this space. We discovered one of our major advantages is the level of security and protection of patient data. Everything that we do, especially new deployments, take a long time because there's a lot of thoughtful analysis that goes into the complexities of this and applying this. Because it's all well and good to say, well, I'm going to go and generate this information. There are much clearer laws and expectations that have been implemented, and they're only getting tougher. And so we try to meet the highest and best standards. And when you're working with groups that haven't gone into this new type of space, a new way of looking at health data, you discovered that you really have to rethink how this data is identified and how you practically apply this within the best use cases. I'm happy to say that the teams, our team and theirs, have worked through those pieces and landed on something really solid. So I think that patient data is going to be well managed and secure, and that matters because it's something that the pharmacy business takes very seriously. They obviously are risk averse, and one of the things that HealthTab does is it really de-risks the whole process at a very high level where they might not be able to do on their own. So HealthTab plays a real key role in this. So very happy to say that we'll be deploying shortly here. They're doing some targeted jurisdictions and collaborating with the pharmacies and working to identify some patients and beginning to roll this out. From a business perspective, there was a bunch of different ways that we looked at it. Ultimately, what we decided was that we, through these partnerships, are opening the door for patient acquisition funding. It would go to the pharmacy, but it loops back to us obviously through the higher testing volumes. So the business model is that we take is that any connectivity, any sort of partnership alignment that's going to drive volumes is good for us. And you can underscore how many people use a Contour Next Gen meter. It's by far the most popular meter in Canada and globally. And we think that this cohort of patients is going to generate much higher volumes within the stores, driving new testing opportunities and driving overall test consumption in the locations. In the future, there's other ways, and you can try to add on different types of fees and development fees and things like that, but we feel that is counterproductive to our overall business objectives. And so far, so good. We are really happy to collaborate with these companies, and we think it's going to drive some fantastic volumes and also increase the value of the data that HealthTab generates through the community pharmacy, because it's not just now generating data in the store, but it also near to patient.
So just to be clear on that, it would help drive revenues and traffic to the pharmacies that have the HealthTab connected, and then there would be some kind of incremental revenue share. It drives more patient visits, and then you would get a share of that, or something associated with the traffic, the additional traffic that's generated by this.
What our partners are doing is they're driving their patients into HealthTab locations to be tested. That's how we make more money.
Oh, okay, so that this then will drive more just standard testing and HealthTab revenues.
Yes, it's literally millions of people that are using these things. So you have now a targeted patient group, cohort that is a great demographic for us, and they're being pushed by a service provider that are already providing them service, and they add value to it. And they're pushing them into our locations.
With in the UK, with the study that's going on there with the NHS, I guess that's National Health Service, they have there. Is that sort of a testing ground that would then potentially drive a partnership with a pharmacy in the UK as well, or how?
Yeah, right now,
how does that sort of evolve into more business?
Yeah, right now it's an academic thing, so that's why it's progressing in the way that it's progressing. It's academic. We're confident. We've done academic studies in the past. HealthTab was used in a quite important kidney disease study in Canada in collaboration with the Kidney Foundation of Canada and the government of British Columbia. And at that time, we were using a different instrument, but the the study, we're very confident, is going to give health policy makers and obviously the, if you want to call them the check writers, but people that are going to approve this type of testing to be funded within community pharmacy in Britain, the confidence to know that they can do this and that this is fitting within the mandate and that this is a good investment. We already are in talks with pharmacy groups in Britain that are very enthusiastic, and they dwarf anything that's in Canada. I mean, Britain is a country now that is, similar population to Canada, but the scale is just so much different. Like the economy is so much different. Like the NHS is a lot more, is very different. So the big things that we're going to be working on UK is obviously the feasibility study and working with our UK and BARTs to demonstrate to government and to demonstrate to healthcare writ large in Britain that this is an important service delivery that needs to happen in community pharmacy, building off the success of the blood pressure checks, remember? And from there, we're going to be focused on API connections to some technologies that are used to manage electronic health records in that country. And so we're beginning those conversations. And then pharmacy is obviously already very keen to be involved in the feasibility study as it expands. The objective by the team there is ultimately to get it to 50 locations, community pharmacy locations, which they've already identified. And so we're going to be working with them and then over the next couple months to maximize that. And then once that it flips over from being academic and it's approved by the NHS digital, then we're going to then focus more on our conventional business development and work on network agreements with the large pharmacy chains in Britain.
This being an investor call and technology, I don't think we have mentioned the words artificial intelligence or AI yet, which it usually comes much sooner in a call. And I was thinking ahead of this call, is this data you're generating, like artificial intelligence models require good data to sort of build their quote intelligence, and you're collecting all sorts of very good data. Is in an anonymized form or in partnership, are there potential for you to use all this data to possibly work with an AI company to like generate revenue for yourself, as all this health data could, or I would expect is highly valuable to these groups?
Well, absolutely. And we already, in a way, are, due to the fact that we are fully integrated with the data lake at Loblaws, right? So Loblaws is actually a very advanced data metric system. I mean, it's extraordinarily complex, but it is also, they're using really deep learning to understand their customers' motivations, interests, how they can serve them better. So we are already fully integrated with that and serving them with that data. We are obviously, the glucose meters is the first step, but we're always entertaining conversations. We haven't found conversations that entirely make sense for us yet, but there is a great amount of interest from companies that are seeking health data to be able to work with us, to be able to drive better insights into the real-time insights that we're able to generate on such a large scale across all these locations. Remembering we're serving a lot of people that are underserved. Health data is generally generated from cohorts of patients that are already well understood, but there is a lot of people out there that are not captured in that data, and we're able to do that now. So we do use, of course, AI today, obviously, to understand what our data is saying, but also in development, we are able to, you're going to see this in a lot of software companies where, a lot fewer people can do a lot more work, right? So, we run a small and lean team, but it's not because, we're just, shoestringing it. It's because we try, and it's a testament to Roger's work and foresight. He really saw this already coming down the pipe years ago and said, we're going to build a team around efficiencies and systems. And so we already are using it within our development, and it allows us to move very quickly and to deploy quite interesting requests from our clients. We really, they're always asking for something new, and we're able to, deploy that very quickly in a fraction of the time of expectations, because of these types of efficiencies that AI affords us. But there's a lot of really smart companies that are going to be in the health data business and talking directly to patients and doing the insights. I want to be clear, though, we are in the business of generating the information and getting it to collaborative partners, and that's really where our strength is and our value is. We're very unique in that way, and so we don't have to compete with anybody in that space. And there's lots of smart people investing billions of dollars in this kind of stuff, and we'll let them do that. But you've heard me say this before, but AIs are as everyone's also been reading, a bit tricky, because it's garbage in, garbage out, just like people. So if depending on what kind of information is getting into these things, it really depends on it really challenges the outcome. So what we're excited about is that we're generating interesting new data sets on people that have been largely under observed, and we're able to also bridge some gaps between collaborative partners that it'd be very difficult for them to adapt to each other, but by using us as an adapter, it makes a lot more sense. So this is one of the things that, when I say the airplane is being built in real time, data connectivity and partnerships and alignments. I'll sort of tighten this up a little bit for you in the sense that it's really important to understand that there's a lot of really interesting technologies out there, but they require a level of collaboration that's challenging for their business model. Traditionally, health data companies want to build a fence around a patient's data and say, well, we own this data, and this is our universe. And connecting to somebody else, sometimes they feel from a business perspective dilutes their value. And this is something we are the antithesis of. We say, no, under the act, under the law, we're stewards of the data. We don't own anybody's data. Any patient can tell you, hey, delete all my data at any time under the law. And that's only getting stronger. And so what we take the position of is saying, look, we're going to be flexible. We're going to connect. We're here to get you the information that you need. Obviously, there has to be a business case for it. And we also have to make sure that security and integrity is a critical piece of all this. But what we're finding is that and the winning formula for us, and increasingly so, we are being viewed as the right adapter, because we are allowing groups to maintain their relationship with their patient, while at the same time we're allowing value adds to be created across the collaborations that we're creating. So you'll see more of that this year, and we're really excited about how this is starting to mature, and how critical HealthTab is becoming in that mix.
Hector, I think we need to start wrapping things up here. There was a ton of data and information you provided us. I appreciate that. And thank you very much for joining us and giving us a New Year's update, and any final words to put a bow on it, so to speak.
Well, I just appreciate everybody's support, and we appreciate your evangelization of our message. I think we are extremely excited about where we're going. We're very bullish on 2024. So a lot of exciting things have happened every year, but this year we see a lot of the momentum behind us, and a lot of the key pieces that we've been hoping and praying for a long time around policy and funding and all the rest of it look like they're coming into place. And so watch for that. We'll be communicating more soon about some of our work and some of our efforts, and we're looking forward to driving HealthTab into more places and with higher frequency. And the team is completely dedicated to this, and appreciate all their hard work. We've come a long way. So thanks for everybody for your support.
Hector, all right, thank you. That was great update, and great seeing you, and talk to you again soon. Cheers.
Thanks very much.